Hello, everyone, and this is the D1011 Dorothy Parker Reads Here. So, I loved your book, but for
Thank
people
you.
who haven't read Breaking Good yet, how would you describe it in your own words?
It's a journey. And I bring people in when I'm already an addict, and I get right into it, and that was a literary decision, and the way that I wanted to do it, and then I go back to childhood, and I talk about the trauma and what brought me to those places, and I wanted people to understand that I kind of have to trust the reader to go on the journey first, and then go back. And then I go back into what it was like a little more in addiction, and then I go into Montclair and the healing, and so it really is a whole story, and it's a story about trauma, it's a story about addiction, it's a story about redemption, and I bring everything into it, and it's a full life, and it's a lot, but it's also beautiful, and I find my way out the other side, and I found myself wanting to write it and to share and to help people, give hope and give healing, and people that haven't and don't need that sort of healing, to bring them into a world that they've never experienced, and just kind of see what that's like, and to see what that process is to come out the other side of those types of traumas that we go through in this world.
No, it's really important because I think even now, I don't think conversations are happening. The conversations that we used to have in, I think, like the 90s and the aughts are conversations that we're not having now. So, what made you decide that now was the right time to tell this story?
Yeah, it's an important story to tell, and there's something in there for almost everyone. And I would say I would even go as far as to say for everyone, because even people that haven't experienced that, it's good to understand, those parts. But I just knew that I wanted to go back in with that flashlight. I knew that I wanted to show people how to come out of those things. And it's not that I'm done healing. Healing takes a lifetime, and I'm still working on it, and we'll be working on it, for many, many years to come. But there are things that I've learned, and there's things that I understand. So I wanted to be able to go back in and help people come out. And as far as now being the time, why not? The people are becoming more aware of trauma. Back when my trauma happened, people didn't know about it. And so, people say, how did that happen? How did no one know? Well, no one was looking at it. Teachers were looking at it, school nurses, like all of the people that should have seen and done something to help me, didn't, but people are aware now. And so now's the time, because these things are still going on. And now's the time to bring them up. And there's so many things to talk about. It's not only the trauma, it's what happened from the trauma, it's addiction, even as far as to talk about, the racial inequality in the criminal justice system. I mean, that is clear, and that is something in my book that also, is happening, and how I came out the other side, and not everyone would, from different backgrounds and different racial identities, and that kind of stuff. So there's just, and then it's the healing, and how we have to kind of go into it and not run from it, and that every time we run from it, the pain persists. And there's so much on social media now with all of these things happening. I just felt like, let's do it. Like, these are issues in our society, and our society is falling apart, and we have to find ways to bring each other together, and to work on these things. So mine is very raw, my story. My book is very vulnerable, and it was a roll of the dice, because I didn't know how people were going to perceive it. They could have judged me, and people do, or thought, why did she do this? Or this wasn't fair. And, but I decided to do it completely authentically. And I knew that that was a gamble, but it was a gamble I was willing to take, because the only way to tell your story and to really touch people and to try to make change is to tell it authentically and honestly. And so, that's how I led as I was writing it, and that is what I think I've done. And I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, now the rest of my life is really focused on, spreading the knowledge that I have, sharing my story, and having open conversations.
I think that's one thing I appreciate about your story. It was very authentic and very much kind of like, what happens happens. Like, I mean, I think so many people when they live a certain life, they're like, I should hide this because what are the consequences of it? You know, you could just pretend like that never happened. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who do. And they have
Yeah.
this, and I think that this is almost kind of like, I think about the PhD journey, and like people don't understand, people get thrown out, people don't get in, things go wrong, and people are like, oh, things can go wrong in life. I'm like, yes, things can go very, 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 very wrong. And to move back to you,
Yeah.
you write about living very different lives from New Jersey to Hawaii and then back again.
Yeah.
Looking back, what stands out the most about that period of your life?
Um, do you mean what stands out most about living in Hawaii and what happened there?
Yeah,
Um,
just whatever, like in that time period, you know how something like in your head, you're kind of go like that, that's something like, oh, I learned about this, or I learned about, maybe you like, I learned that if I didn't have the privilege that I had, this wouldn't have happened, or if I hadn't been a woman, this wouldn't have happened, or if I hadn't,
so
you know what
much
I
of
mean? Like
it.
these, you know, you go back in time and you're like, oh, if this had happened or that, I think about my own self. I remember when I was driving and I was completely out of my mind, and the police officer was like, just go home.
Yeah.
And he could have been go to jail. And he
Yeah.
didn't. He gave me that break. So like that kind of stuff
Yeah. I
change your
mean,
life.
yes, I look back on everything I've been through, and if you read the story, for anyone that does, I've been through so much trauma and so much abuse. I did not get out of this life unscathed. However, I am here today. I was able to have children. I was able to live this life and write the book because I was given privilege, and that's why I just mentioned that, and not only was I given a privilege because of the color of my skin, because I truly believe that there's people still sitting in Hawaiian prisons or in prisons here in this part of the United States or in everywhere that are not given the same chances. And so I take that so seriously and try so hard to find ways to work on that and remedy that. And also it's the Hawaiian people itself, like I went to a land, and I've said this before in other interviews, where people have been used and abused, where their language was taken away, where their culture was taken away. And I go there as a kid and I wreak havoc. Now I was in pain, right? I made choices that came from trauma and addiction. Nonetheless, I made choices. I made choices that hurt people, and I made choices that brought me to places that I shouldn't have gone. And I'm here to tell the tale. And you know, I feel like, and I want to express this in the most, pure and honest way. I feel like I need to pay back. Because I went to an island where I took, and I was able to walk away, and a lot of those people weren't. And I feel like it is my job now to bring awareness, to pay back, and to do everything I can to make good on that. So what I take from that time is that I lived through a lot of pain. Yes. I also made choices that were not okay. And I was able to tell my story. And I am still able to tell my story. And not everyone is able to. And I live with that deeply in my heart. And I don't know how. I mean, I don't know. We have a lot of work to do in this world. Um, you know, regarding that and everything else. But whatever it is, I'm going to continue to do my part because I realize how lucky I am. And I realize the privilege I was given. And I don't think it's fair. And I know I took those chances and I did everything I could. I took those chances, and I've been spending 30 years giving back and doing everything I could, but it's a chance that I got. And I'm so aware of that.
You know, the humility that you have is so important, and I totally understand it, and I totally appreciate it, because it's just, you know, it is, you know, you do have, you did get breaks that other people would not get. But
Absolutely.
writing a memoir requires a lot of honesty. Were there chapters or memories that were like especially hard? Like you're like, I don't know, maybe I should put this in there. It'll make me look bad. It's like
Of course, of
if I
course.
want to have humility, if I want people to feel like kind of like I care, like oh, I did this horrible thing. Should I put it in here? It's a good story, but should I do it?
Yeah, I think like to be free, it's the only way, right? And I think people that read memoirs know when you're not being totally honest and authentic. And there were parts that were hard. I mean, I went through homelessness and prostitution and prison. I mean, and trauma, childhood abuse in all the ways. And that was hard to write about. But it's true. The hardest thing to write about were the places in my life where I hurt people, whether it be choices I made while being a drug dealer, or choices I made while scamming because I was an addict and trying to survive, or choices I made that hurt my own children. Like to admit that publicly is it's painful. And it is really the most raw thing I've ever done, but it's the truth. And the truth sets us free, And so for me, it was the only way.
Wow, that's just like even saying that. I mean, and I think people really, okay, I know I'm like, you should really read the book. But if you haven't read the book yet, one of the book's themes is like the connection between trauma and addiction. And what do you hope readers better understand about that relationship after reading your story, or just even like parents or teachers or people who are, people's adults, little people's adults? What do you think they should like take from this?
Well, I blamed myself for my trauma. I mean, and my addiction and everything that came after it my whole life. And that was because I was kind of told that it was my fault. And not until I was older and I entered therapy and I faced it and I decided to, to finally do the work did I realize that it wasn't. But, um, addiction is the disease of trauma and disconnection, whether that be betrayal, abandonment, actual physical, emotional, sexual abuse. And it causes us to do all of these things. And then, we use the drugs to salve the pain. We use the drugs to feel better. And I think that all of us that are addicts, we blame ourselves. And the truth is that there's always reasons why it happens. And that's also a part of telling the truth is like freeing. It's like when we understand the reasons, when we understand where it comes from, we are able to free ourselves and heal. And until then, it's very hard to heal. And I think what's really wonderful about the book and sharing those parts is that it did reach people that are addicts. It is reaching. I'm getting messages all the time about people that are addicts and how, it's helped them. And I'm getting messages from family members. So once removed, that's, telling me, well, my son or my daughter or my cousin or brother, sister, and it's helping them. And then I'm getting messages from people that have never been in that, world and haven't really experienced someone they know that's homeless or that's been an addict or it's been in prison. And they're telling me, you've opened my eyes. And I'm looking, I mean, I've seen some reviews and messages where it's like, I want to volunteer now and help addicts and kids that are homeless, or I want to be less judgmental in this world. And so I feel like to tie it all together, understanding, opening the eyes of all of us, whoever we are and wherever we've walked, and understanding what causes someone to become an addict and then to make the decisions and to do the things that we do to hurt ourselves and others, it comes from somewhere. And if we can go back there and we can meet people in that place and kind of, bring each other to the other side, the opportunity to heal is great. And so that connection right there, that's the gold. That's where we understand. That's where we are able to really take those steps to not only understand ourselves, but understand others.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, you know, another thing about too is like, the recovery, especially in movies, TV shows, and so many books, it's portrayed as a straight line. But in real life, it is typically more complicated. And so I wanted and to say, oh, what does your healing actually look like? I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of a complicated question, but like, what do you want to tell people? Like, okay, because people probably like, I know a lot of parents are like, I took you to rehab. Why did you mess up again? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I paid this money. You should be fixed now. I paid this money. I paid it twice. You should be fixed now. What, like, what do you want to tell parents or like spouses or whatever? It's kind of like, okay, well, I did this. Kind of like your car broke. I took it to the dealer. I got it
Yeah.
fixed. Like, did I get cheated? Like, was this wrong? What, people don't work like cars. Like, can you
No.
explain that a little bit?
I mean, yeah, sure. I'll do the best I can. Healing is the most jagged, gut-wrenching, painful process, and it is so worth it, right? Like, but to get there, it is multiple steps backwards, not even like one step forward, multiple steps, and we're going and you've got to be, first of all, you've got to be willing to face that pain, and that is hard. You have to see the pain, and that is hard. But it is a choice, like that. And I don't mean in a way like everyone has a choice. Why aren't you making that choice? I mean, no one can bring you there until you're ready, right? And so there is that point where we understand, right? We see it, we understand that we're in addiction, and now we're willing to admit it to ourselves, which is very hard to do. And then it's taking the steps to do the work. And the work is hard. It's not easy. And I think for parents and family members, first of all, there's judgment a lot of the time. Not everyone. There's wonderful family members that are fully supportive, but it's like to understand that that person doesn't want to be an addict. That person would never have chosen that life. The person who is struggling with addiction is struggling with addiction because they're not able to see their way out. And, and it is painfully hard to take each and every step. And so, I'd say just be there, do everything you can, be there. Of course, everyone has to protect themselves. There's boundaries, totally understand that. But just to remember that I think the most important thing, and I say this about homeless kids too, because someone asked me a question about, being homeless and, seeing someone on the street and being like, they're in my town and, trying, it's like, they don't want to be there. No one who's homeless, no one who's addicted, no one who's panhandling would choose that life. They would trade in a second. So like open up your heart, lead with compassion, lead with love, be present and ready when they're ready. And for the people that have been there, again, which is what I'm trying to do, like, come back in with that flashlight, come back in with that pail of water, whatever it is. We've all heard that, those sayings where we go back in and there's a way, like show the way, show the way, take someone's hand. And when they're ready, they're going to walk that walk with you.
Very, very, important, important thoughts and words. I mean, and I'm gonna have two more questions for you.
Yeah, bring it. It's all
Yeah.
good.
So, I mean, I think the thing I think is that was there a particular moment that helped you change your direction? I mean, not that I have been involved in anything as deep as in this book, but I think one of the things that for me was like, wow, it's really hard to die. You can do a lot of things and you will still be here.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like made me go like, oh, Christ, I'm maybe I will get to 80. Like, damn it, I need to like get my crap together. Like, was there a moment for you that you're just kind of like, Christ, like I need to like, was there like a aha moment, or was it like a kind of gradual spectrum type thing?
I mean, first of all, to go really quickly to like I just made it and I'm alive. And that's one of the reasons why I felt it was my responsibility to write this book and to be present and to do all I could to give back, pay forward, all that stuff. There were moments where I tried, when I found out I was pregnant and I got, finally clean, but I wasn't healed. And I didn't understand. So I guess if I'm going to answer this, the most, I knew I had to get myself to therapy and I did eventually. But the most profound part of my healing was when my therapist said things to me that released me of my shame, my pain, my blame, and kind of shifted the perspective. It's like the lens shifted, and I understood in a second it wasn't my fault, or I wasn't the bad one, or I did that because of that. Or, like she said to me once, your life wasn't going to go any other way. With all the trauma and the abuse, your life wasn't going any other way. And I was like, oh, like, okay. And in those moments, I forgave myself. And it's still a struggle, right? We all have that stuff where we go through. And again, I said, like, I'll be working on my issues for the rest of my life and how I perceive the world because of all the stuff I've been through. But I was able to forgive myself almost in an instant for things that I had blamed myself for so long and thought that I deserved. And those things propelled me to the next step, to the next place, and kept me going. And as I uncovered again and uncovered again, I started to realize like I am, I am becoming and I am the person I was always meant to be, the person I was born as, the person that the drugs, hid and kept me from. And in ways, I was always kind of that person. And you see that in the book. I was still like cared about people and giving, but the other part of me took over. And that part was able to wash away, and I was able to see like my heart. And so that's a long way of saying those moments where I understood that I was not bad or evil or whatever it was that I was told, the messages I got, that I was able to like unlock my heart. Um, Once I did that, I was able to heal. Yeah, or at least get on the journey of healing.
I really like that answer because I think the thing is that we all think like not all, but I think in because of movies and stuff, you're like, oh, there's going to be this aha moment. You just wait, it'll just happen. And you're like, okay, the aha moment was I went to therapy, I worked through it.
And
It
worked
wasn't
my ass off.
it
Yeah.
wasn't a lottery. It wasn't like, oh, well, aha, the moment happened. Like I was in the grocery store,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is actually refreshing because that, what if you don't get in the grocery store and pick up that apple and go, oh, apples are beautiful. I should heal myself.
Yeah.
So what is one message you hope like readers will carry with them after they finish this book, after they close it? They're like, okay, what's the message that you hope that they see?
I think that going through the process of healing and facing our pain is painful, and it is so worth it. Like it's so worth it, and you will be caught. And, there's times where we don't feel like we are, and we feel like we're like falling, but we are caught, and we find ourselves. We find ourselves and we find, peace, and we find our way to the other side. And I think I said this to you just earlier. It's like, if you don't do it, you're going to continue, right? So, keep going. Keep going. Don't, when you hit that wall of pain, don't turn away. Please keep fucking going. Excuse my language. But that is, I tried not to curse. I was really
It's
good.
okay, me too.
But you're gonna hit that wall, you're gonna hit that place, and you want to stop, you want to turn around because it's so painful. You feel like you're gonna burn. You feel like you're gonna burn, you're not gonna survive it. That is the point that you don't fucking stop. Keep going and you'll get there. And that is it right there. And the stopping, I think, is what prevents us, and that push through and that ultimate pain is those are the places that we really find ourselves.
Well, you know what, Nikki, thank you so much for speaking with us. I am so looking forward to hearing you read at Dorothy Parker Reads Here at Cora's Tavern on November 9th at 2 p.m.
Excellent. Me
And
too.
I will definitely put down all the ways we can contact you and get your amazing book. I think it's so important. I think that what you're doing is so important because we have so few authentic, especially now because of chat GPT and the internet. We communicate in a different way now, and this is not like a moralistic binary good or bad, but I think that your story is important for people who are growing up now. um and so thank you so much for this
Yeah.
book, and thank you, I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to your next book.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It was amazing chatting with you.